Assalamu alaikum. Today the topic I'm going to discuss that is about Hajj. You know that this is the month of holy um, Hajj, and basically this is the fifth pillar in of Islam. And you know it that whenever we are believing in one pillar of Islam, we need to believe in the rest of the pillars of Islam. That's why after first four pillars of Islam, we need to believe in the fifth pillar of Islam, and this is obligatory, and this is the Hajj, and it is being conducted in the month of Holy Ramadan. People from all over the world who are Muslim, who believe in one God, they would be traveling to Saudi Arabia, and they would be performing the various rituals of the Hajj. If I would like to mention the history of the Hajj, how Hajj was started. Um, Basically, it does have a history, and whenever we speak about Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam and Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam was the apostle of God, and one day he was uh, asked from Allah, it was descended by Jibreel, that you can leave your wife Hazrat Hajira and little Ismail to the barren land of Saudi Arabia. He acted upon the command of the God, and he left his son and the wife to this barren region. So it was a very difficult and tough task for a layman, that whenever Allah is commanding that you can leave your son and wife where there is nothing to eat, there is nothing to drink, there is even no shade of a tree, and he acted upon it and he went back. Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam was crying with thirst, and he was putting his heels on the floor, and he was desperately uh, need for the water. In the meantime, while Hazrat Hajira, she was roaming around and she was hanging around for looking for the water. In the meantime, where were the heels of Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam? At the same point, Allah created a spring of Zamzam. This is known as the Abe Zamzam. So this was the biggest creation of Allah for all the Muslims, and this water is a pure water, and this is used for the cure of several people, and people consider this water a holy water. This was whenever Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, after several years, when Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam was young enough, Allah commanded him, go and find your wife in that barren land. And he went there, and he saw that Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam is grown up now. So they built a house of Allah. They both, Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam and Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, both built the house of Allah, which is known as the Kaaba. And while he was constructing Kaaba, at the, at the same time, he was uttering some words of prayer. Oh Allah, you can create some apostle from my generation which will spread your name. And Allah accepted that prayer. One day, there was a dream of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam. He saw that he is sacrificing his young son, and he is slaughtering um, the young son. And he shared this dream with Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam. Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam said, "Oh Prophet of God, you are also a prophet of God. If you have seen it, it means that Allah wanted to take some sacrifice from us. So you don't need to think a second thought for it. And whatever you have seen in your dream, you can fulfill this dream." And whenever Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam was about to slaughter his only son, he saw that there is a big lamb besides Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam. He was very much surprised, and he was very much happy. Then Allah sent that lamb instead of Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam, and he said that now you can sacrifice you can sacrifice this lamb instead of Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam. So in the remembrance of that age and this sacrifice, all the Muslims, all the human beings, they are sacrificing the animal on the 10th of Zulhijjah, and celebrating the Eid al-Azha after performing the pilgrimage. So Hajj is known as the pilgrimage in English as well, and all the Muslims who who can afford this Hajj, they are this is obligatory, and they are supposed to perform hajj once in their life. Holy Prophet peace be upon him also said that if you can afford hajj uh, once in your life, you it is obligatory for all the Muslims that they must perform hajj once in their life. And those who can afford it and they don't travel it, and they don't go there and they don't perform it, um, either they can die Jew or they can die non-Muslim, because Allah don't need such people who can afford Hajj but they are not performing Hajj. So every Muslim need to perform the Hajj once in their life, and they need to travel to their uh, holy place, that is the Kaaba, and that is a very sacred place. And there are several rituals, but the point is on whom the Hajj is obligatory. All those people who can afford it, Hajj is obligatory. Then all the adult who have their senses, who are not sick. Sick people are exempted from the Hajj. If there is on the part all the women, it is obligatory on all the women, all the adults, all the men who can afford it. Secondly, those women who don't have their mahram, they cannot perform Hajj because they got exemption from it till they get their mahram. And if there is someone sick who cannot travel, they are also exempted from it. And if there is insane person, they also cannot perform Hajj because they are not in their proper senses. There are several rituals of the Hajj. And what are the several rituals of the Hajj? For example, first of all, they will have to gather on the miqat and they wear a specific piece of cloth. They will be wearing only two sheets of cloths, and one is for the upper portion and the other one is for the lower portion, and this is for the men. Because this Hajj also tells us that there is the social mm, benefit. And what are the social benefits of the Hajj? Whenever number of the people are gathered together from the rest of the world, they would be coming across with the other people, and there can emerge the chances of a trade. They can develop the relationship, they can also develop several other relationships. They can make the ties with the people of who are coming from the other countries, and they can also it could be very helpful for the trade purpose as well. Then second is it is having the economic benefit. Whenever you are going there, you are spending your money, and your money will be purified. The third benefit is your physical benefit. Whenever you are walking there and you are doing a physical exertion, it will be charity of your body, and you will be feeling comfortable after performing it, and human being will be feeling lighter after performing the Hajj and the pilgrimage. So whenever people are wearing, especially men are wearing two pieces of cloth, it means it shows that everyone is equal, and this is specifically for the men. And everyone is equal, no one is superior. If they do have more wealth, they would be only wearing two sheets of cloth, which shows that they are very much uh, they are very much closer to Allah. Then they are doing several prayers. And the first ritual of the Hajj is that they are wearing their ihram. After wearing the ihram, they would be going to Holy Kaaba, and they would be taking the several rounds around the Kaaba. And they would be, all the men would be having their stiff body at that moment, because this is also asked by Allah, that they should be firm in their belief, and they would be doing the tawaf Kaaba and offering nawafils. Then after 7 rounds, they would be taking around the Kaaba. Then the second step is known as the Sa'i. That is the 7 rounds from Safa to Marwa. It is in the remembrance of Hazrat Hajira, when Hazrat Hajira was performing and she was looking for the water for the little Ismail. This is the second, and this is walking in the hasty. And as she was walking in haste, in the same way, all the pilgrimage will be doing this action in a very much haste. The next step is then they would be staying there and doing all the ibadas, and they will be performing various ibadas, and uh, they will be performing several ibadas till um, 9th of Zilhajj. Then On the 8th of, on the 9th of Zilhajj, they would be gathering Ar- in plain of Arfa. In the plain of Arfa, that is a plain where all the Muslims will be gathered on the day of the final judgment, and they will be listening the address and the sermon by the Imam Kaaba, and then they would be performing their Asr and Maghrib prayer together. They will be staying in the plain of Arafat whole night, and then the next day, after offering the Fajr prayer, they will be getting uh, several stones. That is known as the Rami. And Rami is stoning the shaitan. They would be collecting the shaitans and they would be throwing the 70 stones on the shaitan. This means that they are against the shaitan and they are not the followers of the shaitan. On the 10th of Zilhajj, they would be sacrificing an animal, and before sacrificing the animals, they would be having their hair cut and they will be trimming their nails. They will be performing various other necessities which is required at that time. So, Hajj is basically the same as we are performing the Umrah, but Hajj is offered at the massive scale and the great number of the people all around the world in the greater number. They would be coming there, they would be gathering there, and on the 9th of Zilhajj, they will be raising several verses. لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك. So these are the words which would be uttering in the land of Makkah and the Holy Kaaba, and people would be feeling immense pleasure while they are getting closer to their God, because this is the time period in which they are solely performing the ibadat, they are doing the rituals, they are sparing their time for ibadah, and there is no other worldly matters. And whenever they are there, the feelings are highly emotional at this stage, and they would be considering that this life is the best mm, life while they are closer to Allah, because this is the time when they get a chance that they are closer to Allah, and mm, they forget about the worldly matters and the materialistic gains, because this is giving them the spiritual benefit, and when they are getting spiritual benefit, there is nothing else better than that, because as we are having the social status, in the same way we are having the spiritual status as well. So the spiritual status and the social status would cannot go side by side, and whenever some individual has got the spiritual status, they can get worldly status as well. So we can say that Hajj is the very important pillar of Islam, and those people who can afford it, they must go for the Hajj. And due to this pandemic, big crowd, big mob cannot gather there at the massive scale. But being a Muslim, being a human being, we need to have a visit once in our life. But there are several people who perform pilgrimage several times in their life, and instead of going on the recreational activities, they would be going on the Holy Kaaba, because Holy Kaaba is a very sacred place, and after performing the Hajj, they would be offering Eid prayer, and then they'll have to complete 40 prayers in Medina, and after performing the Hajj, they would be offering 40 prayers in Medina, and then their Hajj session is completed. Afterwards, they can move back to their country. And Hajj is very important ritual of Islam. It does have great significance. It does have great importance. I hope I would be doing another session of the Hajj. Till the next video, Allah Hafiz.